Hi, guys. I'm back. It's me, Bryan Barron, Paula's Choice Director of Skincare Research, here for the next hour to take your questions. I don't necessarily have a topic in mind, so we can kind of call this an Ask Me Anything show. Whatever is on your mind about skincare, beauty, ingredients, cosmetic trends, I'm open. Just let me know. Let's see. Got a few people saying hi. Let me know if you can hear me. I know it's been a while since we've talked, and sorry about that. I had a couple weeks off, not for vacation per se, but just other things going on. And then I know Paula joined you guys for a live chat from our Seattle office. I think that was no, not last week, the week before. And then last week we had a chat scheduled on Thursday, and I was having some ear problems, and I had to make an emergency appointment, I guess you could say, to go see my ear, nose, and throat doctor. Really, I've had inner ear issues for a while now, and there's been various things going on, and not to bore anybody, but I woke up last Monday and noticed that I couldn't hear as well out of my left ear. And I thought, okay, it's probably just allergies, congestion. I'll take some Sudafed. It'll drain things, clear it up, will be good as new. And then that didn't happen. And I went to see the doctor because I was very concerned it was going to turn into something worse, like a big bout of vertigo or something like that, where I'd be bedridden for 24 hours. Man, that's not fun. Even if there's good TV on. Even if you want to binge watch House of Cards, still not fun. Anyway, I went and I had an audiogram done, which is a hearing test. And come to find out, I had lost about 30% of the hearing in my left ear. Just like that. So the doctor put me on prednisone, which is a steroidal anti-inflammatory. I'm still taking it. If I'm a little loopy today, that's why. It's a strange little medication. It kind of messes, it causes a lot of excitability, and it can mess with your sleep. So I've been joking for the past week or so that I've been sleeping in this cat-like state of readiness because I just can't relax. And you're not supposed to drink alcohol while you're on prednisone. I can't say that I've adhered to that 100%, but apparently it's supposed to make things more interesting. I'm just trying to level out. So, almost done with that. Went back a few days later after being on the prednisone, had another audiogram. Hearing is back. So, I'm good as new as far as I know, and I'm here to take your questions, and I know I've been rambling on, so hello again. Let me remind everybody who's tuning in, if you're watching live and you're thinking about doing some shopping on paulaschoice.com, we are offering actually a pretty cool discount right now. I'll double check my email. I believe it is 20% off orders of $65 or more. If you're using a couple of our anti-aging products or more advanced formulas, not hard to get to that $65 threshold. I maintain that we continue to have some of the most highest performing products for the most competitive prices in the industry. You may disagree. I hope not if you're watching. But yeah, take advantage of that sale. I think it goes until the end of the week. 20% off, $65 or more. So let's get to some questions here. Roel says, hi, Bryan, is there a mineral SPF 50 in the works for PC? It is a shame you use SkinCeuticals, don't you think? It is a shame. I want to use one of our sunscreens. I really do. And as I've said before, with sunscreens, it is so much about personal preference and what works for you and what you like. I don't care. As long as it's broad spectrum and SPF 30 or greater, I don't care what sunscreen you use, as long as it's something that you look forward to applying every day, and therefore you will apply it every day because that's what counts. So to answer the question though, Yes. Can't say more than that. Yes. Nis says, what is the best replacement for the old Clinical Redness Relief liquid and gold bottle? That was a cool product, wasn't it? I use it around my eyes when I get irritation that leads to puffiness and eczema. Nis or Nice, however you pronounce that, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. I would say our Calm Redness Relief Toner for normal to dry skin would be great. Or the normal to oily skin, which is a little lighter, less hydrating. Either one of those is going to give you the biggest concentration of those soothing anti-irritant type ingredients that we used to have in the clinical redness relief. In fact, let me double check something. Yep, I was right. The Calm Redness Relief Toner for normal to dry skin, we used that clinical redness relief product as the jumping off point. So you're going to get a lot of those same types of anti-irritants. So that's the one to look to. Matab says, is it okay to mix some serums together and apply them on the skin, or do we have to layer them one by one? So absolutely. If you're using 2-3 serums at a time, you can, a few drops of this one, a few drops of that one, a pump of that, mix it all together and apply to the skin. It's totally fine to do that, or you can layer them one by one. For example, why would you want to layer? Layering can be a bit easier to control the spreadability, where you put a certain serum. Like let's say you're using 2 serums and one is more moisturizing than the other, and you have combination skin, and you don't want to put the more moisturizing serum on your oily areas. So if you're mixing it all up in your hand, you could start in the drier areas and do a thicker application there and then kind of use the residue of what's left on your hand for the oily areas. But I would say it would be easier for combination skin, especially to put the lighter serum on the T-zone and all over, and then you do the heavier serum, the more thick serum, on your dry areas, which is for most people would be the cheeks, the neck. Skincare 30 Plus says, I'm also wondering if you would come out with products similar to Color Science Sun Forgettable SPF applicator. That is something not necessarily, where'd your question go? That is something that we are looking into. I don't have a definitive answer. We are always looking at new, interesting, innovative ways to deliver more sun protection to your skin, because that healthy, young-looking skin begins with daily sun protection. I know you've heard us say that before, and we've also said that sunscreen is among the least sexy skincare topics. It certainly isn't as fun to talk about as antioxidants or anti-wrinkle ingredients or vitamin C, but sun protection is where it all has to start. So yeah, we're not opposed to doing a product like that. I think you will see more such products like that from the industry at large, at least I hope so, because the more options we have to protect our skin from sun damage, the better. And because most of us aren't applying, and I'm including myself in this statement, I'm not always the best about liberally applying a sunscreen. Most of us aren't applying enough to get the stated level of protection, so the more products you can layer with sunscreen in your daily routine, your morning routine, the better. That's why, for example, we would advocate somebody using one of our daytime moisturizers with sunscreen, followed by our Resist Anti-Aging Smoothing Primer Serum with SPF 30, another layer of sun protection. You could put on a tinted moisturizer or a foundation with sunscreen, even more, and you're getting those thinner layers so that no product feels particularly heavy, but you're getting a nice, robust amount of those active ingredients on your skin to shield it from UV light. That's the point. Okay. Tonya says, hi, Brian from Michigan. You're from Michigan, Tonya? Cool beans. Who says that anymore? Just me. Can you please help with dry skin that exaggerates fine lines? I can't help the fact that dry skin will exaggerate fine lines. That's true for anybody, even if you have oily skin with dry areas. The quickest remedy to that is using a really well-formulated moisturizer for your skin type, one that contains a nice balance of emollients, which can be non-fragrant plant oils. Ingredients like triglycerides, ingredients like certain silicones, like dimethicone, is actually a good emollient and skin protectant. It should contain water binding agents like sodium PCA, skin replenishing ingredients like ceramides, glycerin, cholesterol, lecithin, glycosaminoglycans, any of those, some antioxidants, too numerous to list, green tea, vitamin C, pomegranate, grapeseed, those are some common ones. And then in a texture that's suitable for your skin type. So if you have dry skin, you can go for a richer lotion or a cream or even a balm-like texture. The other thing that you might want to take a look at if you're seeing, if the dry skin is more like visible, kind of like, oh, I see this layer of dryness, it looks kind of flaky, you can try using a very mild facial scrub, something that's in like a creamy base. Boots makes a good one. Clinique 7-Day Scrub Cream Rinse-Off formula is pretty good. You can take a look at some of our other favorites, and it's a short list on our Beautypedia site under the list of best scrubs. And what you do with that is before you would actually use the scrub in the morning as your facial cleanser, and you'd apply it to damp skin, very, very lightly massage over the dryness-prone areas, pat your skin dry, rinse with warm water, and then you can apply your moisturizer and give it a few minutes to absorb before you move on to your sunscreen. If you're using a moisturizing sunscreen, you can just put it on and go. Maya says, hey, can we expect to see an eye cream SPF anytime soon? I hope so. I hope so. We're close. We're really close, and we are committed to not launching one until it is as fantastic as we know it can be. So the bad news is ongoing delays. The good news is that when this eye cream is finally available, I think that a lot of you, no product is going to make everybody happy, but I think a lot of you are really, really going to love it, and it'll become a new staple in your routine. That's what I hope. Javier, Bryan, what is the best for acne pigmented scars? I'm 17. If you have, first of all, I feel your pain. I've been through that myself. I still go through that every now and then, even at age 44. Seems like the older I get, my breakouts, thankfully, are rarer. But when I do get one, they tend to be bigger, they tend to be more severe, and they tend to leave a lasting mark. That discoloration that's left is called, it's a type of hyperpigmentation that is part of your skin's response to dealing with the breakout, part of your immune system's response to dealing with the breakout. If you have a lighter skin tone like me, the post-acne mark is likely to be pink to red in coloration. If you are medium to tan to dark skin toned, which is a lot of people who aren't of Caucasian descent, your post-acne marks tend to involve the skin pigment melanin. And that requires a different type of treatment than the pink to red marks someone as white as me gets. For example, I could use a hydroquinone product thinking that it would help lighten this dark spot that I have on my skin, because when you're this white, anything looks dark, but it won't work because the marks that I would get from an acne blemish aren't related to melanin. I don't have enough of that in my skin to cause a melanin response. But if you're darker complected, medium to darker complected, Hispanic origin, African American origin, Asian, East Asian, West Asian, you'd simply have more melanin in your skin. You're going to get more marked discoloration, which will respond usually pretty well to an over-the-counter product that contains 2% hydroquinone. So in the Paula's Choice line, that would be our Resist Triple Action Dark Spot Eraser. There is a lotion or a gel formula. Both of them have exfoliating ingredients in them. The lotion has 7% AHA. The gel has 2% BHA. You will want, I'm drinking a carbonated beverage, so excuse you'll want to give it at least 4 to 8 weeks to work. Daily application. Sun protection is critical. Another thing that you can use if you wanted to take a multi-layered approach, and this personally works for me, I use our Resist Vitamin C Spot Treatment, which is in a little tube. It's 25% stabilized, potent ascorbic acid in a silky silicone base that is very easy to just squeeze out a tiny, tiny amount and dab it right on the spot. And so you can put that on either before or after your hydroquinone type product. If you are not dealing with post-acne marks that are tan to brown in coloration, you can just use vitamin C and or niacinamide, which will also help. Our 10% niacinamide booster is an option to consider for that. So bottom line, Javier, you have choices, and I think if you're persistent and patient, you will see some good results. Got it. Okay. Sarah says, hi, Bryan. Hope all is well. I need more hydration in the winter in addition to a sunscreen lotion. However, layering the moisture boost in my CeraVe sunscreen causes it to pill. So you must be referring to the Moisture Boost moisturizer, not the Moisture Boost Daily Restoring Complex with SPF 30. What should I do? So sometimes, Sarah, when products start to pill, the simple solution is to give the product you apply first a bit more time to absorb before you move on to the next product that is causing that to occur. If that doesn't work, chances are good that there is a formulary incompatibility between the two bases, and that in that case is just a matter of experimenting with different products. So that could mean rather than using our Moisture Boost under your CeraVe, you would use another one of our facial moisturizers, maybe the Resist Barrier Repair, maybe the Skin Recovery. If you're really dry, you could look at the Clinical Ultra Rich Moisturizer. It could be the sunscreen too. I mean, so you may have to experiment both ways. Another option would be to try and find a more moisturizing SPF product to use during the day. Ours tend to be more on the lighter side, although the Skin Recovery formula with SPF 30 it's got a pretty high oil content. That's pretty moisturizing. You could give that a go. You could take a look at some of the moisturizing facial sunscreens that Clinique offers. I tend to recommend that brand as a alternative to some of the Paula's Choice sunscreens if you've tried them and not cared for them, because Clinique is pretty much excellent about ensuring broad spectrum protection, and they do a pretty good job not only of omitting fragrance, because they are supposed to be fragrance free. They're not always, but they are supposed to be. And they tended to do a good job of differentiating by skin type. So you can go to them and say, I've got dry skin, I need a single SPF type product, and what do you have for me? Anthony says, hello, Bryan. I was wondering where you had gone. I said I'd be back. I know, things happen. And I'm always working behind the scenes. Don't worry about that. And Andrea says, should oily acne-prone skin use oils? Only if your skin is dry, if you have dry spots. I say that not because oils are going to make acne worse automatically. Some do, some don't, and it can be an individual response. Generally speaking, and this is kind of an irony, the heavier, greasier feeling oils like a mineral oil or even some silicone oils that people often think, oh, it feels occlusive, oh, it's clogging my pores. They're not really. They can't, because their molecular size is too big for them to actually get into, you see my dog in the background? They get into the pore lining and get stuck. On the other hand, a lot of the plant oils have a smaller size, and so they can more easily penetrate into the pore lining. And in some cases, depending on how clog prone you are, those oils can mix with your natural oil, with dead skin cells, with tiny hairs that get backed up in the pore, and that can make a clog worse. So it is a mistaken notion that a plant oil is inherently better for your skin if you're worried about clogged pores or breakouts. That's not always the case. And of course, there's a lot of fragrant plant oils that contain allergenic, sensitizing substances that will only stir that irritation pot that can also make acne worse or trigger it. So ultimately, Andrea, if you want to try an oil for dry areas and you're worried about breakouts, I would actually look to trying a silicone type serum and seeing how your skin responds, or go for one of the lighter textured oils, such as grapeseed oil, and only apply it to the areas where you're experiencing dryness or flakiness. You can also just take one of those types of products and mix in a drop or two of it with your facial moisturizer and see how that goes. And even if you just want to spot apply, that would be fine. Tay Lele says, what is your opinion on P50? That is I think, a Biologique Recharge product. It's a toner type exfoliant. They have several. They've been on the market for a while. The original P50 lotion, I think, harkens back to the early 1970s. First of all, let me just say that if you're using the original P70 lotion, that contains phenol, which is a very, very potent keratolytic exfoliant peeling agent. It's actually caustic. Pure phenol, or even a dilute concentration of phenol, if the concentration is high enough, it can actually eat through skin. It is strong stuff. The other thing is that if you're looking at the original P50 product, which, like I said, did come out in the 70s, nobody should be using a product for skin that came out in the 70s. We know so much more now than we ever used to. I mean, if you think about it, and I'm totally aging myself here, but the 70s was 50 years ago, if not more. I'm not really good at the fast math. But I'm 44, born in 1973. We're in 2018. I'm going to be 45 at the end of the year. The 70s was a long time ago. If you would not give up your smartphone or your iPad or other tablet device or your laptop for a typewriter or a rotary wall phone, don't do that type of thing for your skin. I have not looked at all of the P50 type products, so there may be some that are better than others, but from what I have seen of the products that tend to get the most press, it's not that they don't work to exfoliate. I think that in most cases they work too well. You get a kickback from irritation. They have too strong of a peeling action. There are milder ways to go about doing that to increase that cell turnover, to renew your skin, to get that benefit of exfoliation. So I do have an opinion on it. Okay. Anthony, you have a lot on your mind today. I'll come back to you. Anna says, what would be a good eye cream serum for dark circles? And it depends, Anna. If your dark circles are something you've had for as long as you can remember, chances are very good that there is a genetic component to that, and those types of dark circles really can't be helped with skincare. At least not beyond like optical results in terms of using something like our Pure Radiance brightening treatment that has those mineral pigments in it that are specially milled to reflect light. So they can cosmetically make the dark circles look better, but they're not actually doing anything about getting rid of them, making them less light, even when you have nothing on your skin. In a lot of cases, though, and this can be true whether your dark circles are hereditary or not, the ongoing UV light exposure over the years, if you haven't been good about putting sunscreen around your eyes or protecting the skin around your eyes with sunglasses, can trigger or worsen dark circles. That type of dark circle progression can respond often quite well to eye area products that contain certain antioxidants, I want to say anti-inflammatory, but like soothing, calming ingredients. We built in some of those ingredients to our Resist Anti-Aging Eye Cream and our Resist Anti-Aging Eye Gel. So I would try one or both of those depending on what your preference is. I like using our gel in the morning and our eye cream at night. That seems to work well for me, but I don't really struggle with dark circles. I have heard from customers that have seen some good results. But because what is behind dark circles is often multifactorial, um, there isn't even within Paula's Choice, there isn't a slam dunk solution I can say, oh, use this, and that won't be a problem anymore. Which is why so often the general advice for dark circles is to invest in a really good concealer that matches your skin tone and that you find easy to apply, because that is going to be your smartest solution outside of seeing a cosmetic dermatologist for various light emitting treatments that can improve the appearance of dark circles to a degree. Be careful if you do go see a dermatologist for dark circles. Be careful of any of them that overpromise, because from the research I've seen, you can get some in-office improvement using certain procedures to lighten dark circles, but they do not go away completely. We're talking maybe a 30% improvement, but depending on the depth and severity of your dark circles, 30% improvement can be a lot. Let's see. Sarah says, hello, Bryan. I accidentally purchased the Calm Redness Relief Toner for normal to oily skin instead of the normal to dry skin. Is the toner for normal to oily skin drying at all? No. None of our toners are drying. We don't use those types of ingredients. We don't use alcohol, denatured, witch hazel, menthol, fragrances, any of those ingredients that can dry and dehydrate skin surface. For certain, the Calm Redness Relief Toner for normal to oily skin feels lighter. It's not as hydrating as the Calm Redness Relief Toner for normal to dry skin. Call our client services phone number 800-831-4088. Hit them up on live chat or email, and they should be able to arrange an exchange for you. Honest mistake will get you the right toner. But if you opt to keep that one, there's certainly nothing wrong with using it. Oh. Anthony's helping me behind the scenes. Danny says, whenever I wax, epilate, thread my upper lip, I get these small bumps after a few days. What do I do to prevent that from happening? I would suggest, Danny, that you pre-treat and post-treat the area with a really, really calming toner. And I'll give you a bit of a cocktailing thing that you can try. So I think one of our most skin calming toners outside of the Calm range is our Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner, simply because it has that milky texture, those ceramide-like ingredients. It's very, very rich. But what you can do along with that is you can actually make what we call an aspirin toner. And very easy to do. You get a tiny little cup. You could even use a shot glass. Drop a couple of standard aspirin tablets in there in distilled water. Wait until the aspirin tablets dissolve, which can take a few minutes. You can kind of agitate it. If you want, you can add a couple of drops of plain glycerin, which you can get from a pharmacy. Not expensive at all. By the way, don't put plain pure glycerin on your skin. In 100% concentration, glycerin can draw too much moisture from the lower layers of your skin if there isn't enough hydration, humidity in the air, and that can backfire in terms of softening your skin, which is why you always see glycerin and moisturizers mixed with other ingredients that help balance all of that, so you only get the good from glycerin. Anyway, but you could just do distilled water and aspirin. Once the aspirin is dissolved, and this is before the hair removal process, take a cotton pad or a cotton swab, dip it into the solution, put it on the upper lip area. You can be generous, but watch for it dripping into your mouth because it won't taste good. Let it sit, let it absorb, follow with the toner I mentioned earlier from Paula's Choice, and then when all of that is dried, when all of that is absorbed, then proceed with the hair removal method of choice. And then afterwards, save that aspirin toner, don't dump it out, and you can actually put some press and seal or something like that over it and store that mixture in the refrigerator. Use it for the next few days. The topical benefits of aspirin in terms of reducing signs of sensitization are pretty remarkable. And it's a pretty cheap, easy thing you can do at home that I hope you find will make a difference. Okay, Angie says, how do I stop zinc oxide from drying my skin out? Feels like it absorbs all moisture in my skin throughout the day. Any tips on products that have just enough zinc oxide to be effective? I know what you mean, Angie. Zinc oxide, especially if it's the only active ingredient in a product rated SPF 30 or more, which means you're probably going to see it between like 12 and 20%, it can be drying. If you have oily skin, that can be seen as a bonus because the naturally absorbent quality of zinc oxide helps to keep the skin matte. But if you have dry areas, if you're combination skin like me, it can be too much. So for example, with the daytime moisturizer I use, that SkinCeuticals Physical Fusion with SPF 50, that has zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. I think the total is about 13%, which is actually a little on the low side. I sometimes wonder how they got to SPF 50, but they're a reputable company. I'm not questioning the value of their SPF testing, but it's crossed my mind as far as like, what is 13% and some have 25% and they're only SPF 30, and it's complicated. In terms, if you have an SPF product that you really, really enjoy using that has a higher amount of zinc oxide, and the only thing you don't like about it is that it feels drying throughout the day, if you're not already doing so, prep your skin with a serum or moisturizer type product, and or add a few drops of a facial oil blend like the Resist Moisture Renewal Oil Booster that Paula's Choice offers. You could just do a couple of drops of that applied as a thin layer over your regular moisturizer or under that moisturizer with zinc oxide. You do not need to put it all over. If the zinc oxide drying effects aren't bothering your skin all over, just apply that oil where it is. Give it a couple minutes to set and then finish with your sunscreen. Barring that, I would suggest experimenting with SPF 30 to 50 facial moisturizers with sunscreen that combine zinc oxide with other active ingredients so that you get that broad spectrum protection that the zinc oxide offers, along with supporting protection from the other active ingredients, which will help attenuate the drying effect that a zinc oxide only sunscreen can have for some people. Elizabeth, another sunscreen question. Elizabeth says, can titanium dioxide be irritating to rosacea? I seem to tolerate zinc oxide well, but sometimes think titanium makes my skin sting out in the sun. Thoughts? They are different chemicals. I know that we often talk about titanium dioxide and zinc oxide as being mineral sunscreens, and they are, but what's more accurate is that they are mineral derived. You won't find pure titanium dioxide in nature. You won't find pure zinc oxide in nature. And even pure titanium and pure zinc in nature are not what you just want to put on your skin. Those ingredients need to be cleaned, they need to be purified, they need to have any heavy metals removed that could potentially harm your skin. So all of that is to say that two things. Even ingredients we perceive as being natural are still chemicals. Everything is a chemical. Water is made of chemicals. Skin is made of chemicals. A tomato is made of chemicals. Plastic is a chemical. Chemical isn't a dirty word. There are good chemicals and bad chemicals. The other thing is that with these mineral sunscreens, the process it takes to turn natural titanium and natural zinc into effective, aesthetically pleasing sunscreen ingredients that can spread evenly over the skin and provide the protection that we need is anything but natural. That is a very synthetic process. I haven't seen any research indicating that titanium dioxide is more sensitizing to rosacea. Generally speaking, titanium or zinc tend to be the sunscreen actives of choice for sensitive redness-prone skin because they are so benign, they're so unlikely to cause a reaction. What could be happening is that the sunscreen with titanium dioxide that is causing your skin to feel that way when it's exposed to the sun, it could be something else in the formula, even a plant extract, even if it's non-fragrant. One of the most frustrating things about rosacea is that there's often no rhyme or reason for why your skin reacts to a certain ingredient. It could be the most benign ingredient in the world, It could be something that you've used for years without any problem, and then one day, with the rosacea, boom, you got a problem. It stings, it burns, it causes the dry patches, and you can't use it anymore. So all of that is to say, experiment. Try some sunscreens that have a mix of both. Try one that just has zinc oxide. For if you are really, really light-skinned and you do a lot outdoors in a sunny climate and you have rosacea, one of my favorite brands to take a look at, because they, last I knew, at least in terms of their creams and lotions, they pretty much just do mineral sunscreens, is a brand called MD Solar Sciences. They make really nice silicone-based, so they're very tenacious, long-wearing, water-resistant sunscreens that are non-sensitizing. Look at you guys all in here helping each other. Maria says, hi, Bryan. I was wondering what's your opinion on konjac sponges. I like them. I really do. I haven't used one for a while, but for a while I was using one from the Boscia brand, which you can find at Sephora. I think they're kind of cool. You have to be careful because, like any type of a facial sponge, they can get kind of grody after a while. So don't, and then in between uses, they get hard as a rock again, and then it's a bit strange. But I did find that when you use them properly with your cleanser, when you get them wet, not applying too much pressure, they can have a nice effect. Why do I not keep using one? If memory serves, I just didn't see enough of a benefit to keep going with it. And I've kind of always been that way about extra cleansing steps. I tend to like my cleansing to be very, very simple, as one step as possible. That's why I did the Clarisonic thing for a while, and I was just kind of like, not bad, not great, not seeing a huge difference, but I kept at it, and it just didn't seem worth it to me. I know that there are a lot of you out there that would take your Clarisonic into the cold ground when it's your time, and that's great. More power to you. Just be careful with them. They can be aggressive. Go for the softest brush head you can find. I love the cashmere one. That's one to look at. Anyway, that's the cleansing thing. And yes, so yeah, I liked konjac sponges. It's something, if you want that extra bit of cleansing, I think that definitely from a laundering perspective, they're more economical and less wasteful than using a washcloth every time you wash your face. So yeah, see what you think. Payal says, will Paula's Choice ever launch Tinosorb sunscreens in Europe? Never say never. It's not something we're actively seeking to do. Tinosorb is one of a handful of active ingredients that is approved for use in the European Union, but not approved in the United States. For those of you who aren't aware, cosmetic regulations on sunscreens are different between the United States and member nations of the European Union. They have their own regulatory board, just like the United States has the Food and Drug Administration as our regulatory board. So in the US, sunscreens are categorized and viewed by a regulatory agency as over-the-counter drugs. Therefore, they are subject to a different set of restrictions, requirements, and pre-market testing that non-OTC products like an eye cream, a moisturizer, or a toner don't have to follow. That is not to say that such products aren't safe. Don't read into that. But the FDA has been slow, some would say painfully slow, to approve some of the newer sunscreen active ingredients that have met with great success in Europe and to some extent in other countries as well. In Europe, sunscreens are marketed as cosmetics. There's no over-the-counter stipulations for them. So that is one of the reasons why there is a greater assortment of active ingredients available for cosmetic formulators formulating products to be sold in the European market. Whereas in the United States, if you want to sell your product globally, you still need to adhere to the regulations that pertain to sunscreens as they apply to your country. So even if we did formulate a sunscreen with Tinosorb, we wouldn't be able to sell it in the United States because that particular active hasn't been approved for use in sunscreens here. So we could sell it weird hair there. We could sell it overseas, but we are confident that the mix of sunscreens for the face and body that we have now and those that we have in development, utilizing the active ingredients that are approved in the United States, and by and large, as far as I know, just like thinking, I don't think there's any restrictions. So I was going to say they are globally approved. We're confident that those provide a nice, effective mix options for sun protection. Okay. Danny says, is it true that the PC tanning foam is being discontinued? I literally can't live without it. I don't know. We've discussed it. Let me get back to you, Danny. I'm not 100% certain. I think it is still for sale. Our self-tanning products, for as good as I think they are, they've never really gotten a lot of attention. They've never really taken off. I think part of that is because there are some very good brands out there that are basically have the self-tanner market cornered. That's what they do. They're noted for it. They get wide consumer acceptance. And so when lines like us that have a wide range of skincare products try to incorporate a couple of self-tanning options, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. Even though, like I said, I think they're great formulas, I would put them up with the best of the best that you can get from brands like Clarins, L'Oreal, Saint-Tropez. But just to name 3 brands that are, and Neutrogena to some extent, that have really captured the self-tanning market, I think that's why. So I'll get back to you on that though, Danny. Ashley wants to know what my thoughts are on rosehip oil. Ashley, I think that is one of the better non-fragrant plant oils to use. It's a natural source of vitamin C. It's not super, super high in vitamin C in the sense that, like, if you're using a high-strength vitamin C treatment product, I wouldn't say, oh, just switch for rose oil. It's even better, it's even stronger, or it's equivalent. No, but what you could do is mix the two. For example, like if you're a fan of our C15 Super Booster or SkinCeuticals CE Ferulic, and maybe you find that you like that product, that type of product, but you want it to be a little bit more hydrating, add a few drops of rose oil. Really good non-fragrant plant oil. Like most non-fragrant plant oils, it's also a good source of antioxidants. Kitten Casserole. Great name. Hi, Bryan. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm learning so much about skincare from you. Oh, that's great. I love hearing that. Because, we're all in this together. One of the things that I think is so cool about Paula's Choice is that we're not just a skincare company. We're not just here to sell you skincare. We are here to make sure that you are understanding what you're using, getting the best possible products for your skin, and that there's always that education component. Because, you guys know this, skincare is confusing. Even when we try to not make it so confusing, it just is. And there's a lot to demystify, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that is what we try to cut through, to decimate for you, to basically try to forge a clearer path so that you can understand what you need to use for your skin type, for your skin concerns, to get the results that you're after. And I know it can be frustrating and confusing even within our own line, because oftentimes what might be best for you, there isn't one slam dunk product. There could be 3 or 4. And so, there's that indecision, like, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? Should I try this? Should I try that? And sometimes you just gotta jump in and try some stuff and experiment. And I alternate. This is actually a really interesting segue. I realized the other day, we just finished not too long ago remodeling our master bathroom. And I'm very happy with it. And one of the things that's great, there's a lot that's not so great about remodeling, but one of the things that is great is that you get to pick out pretty much everything. So for the vanity cabinets, we had the option, we did 2 on the end, and then there's a storage cupboard under each sink in the middle, and then, so you've got end cabinet, storage cabinet, 3 drawers, storage cabinet, end cabinet. So his and his. So for the cabinets on the far end of the vanity, and our vanity is about 7 feet wide. It's actually pretty nice size. Instead of opting for a standard cupboard that pulls open and you've got your fixed shelves in there, we did a pull out, almost like a spice cabinet type thing, where so you pull the whole thing out and then you've got your shelves, and then they have little rails on the side that go up about 4 inches, maybe 3 inches, and that is where I keep all of my skincare, which is a lot. And the reason that there's a lot is not because, I need a lot of products. It's because I alternate between different products that are appropriate for my skin type and skin concern and what I think my skin needs on that particular day. And so I have everything kind of lined up by size because it makes it easier to, I'm like looking at things from the top down as opposed to having everything out on my counter. And I realized that with the exception of the niacinamide booster, which just doesn't work well for me, I have all of our boosters, all of them, including an upcoming one that I can't tell you about, and but you'll find out soon. And I really do rotate between them, like I was picking up the bottles, and it's not like my C15 is half empty and my oil booster is full, but my hyaluronic acid booster, there's only a quarter of it left. I'm an equal opportunity booster user. I'll sometimes layer them, but I love that customization aspect to skincare. So it's almost like once you get your core products down as far as what cleanser do I like using best, what toner works best for me, okay, then you get into your exfoliants, and there's maybe 2 or 3 that you alternate between, like AHA and BHA, or maybe you're using 2 BHAs but different strengths based on what your skin needs. And then you have your favorite serum, and you've got your favorite daytime moisturizer, and then maybe you have 2 or 3 night moisturizers based on the season, based on what you might be layering with them, and then you've got your boosters. And so it's, I don't know, I find it fascinating because it really just lets you get into that granular customization of really giving your skin what it needs right then and there. And it's not about putting everything on your face at once and getting overwhelmed. It's about picking and choosing and knowing that over the course of a week or so, you're giving your skin a pretty dang good mix of ingredients, and it's looking fantastic as a result. Okay, segue over. Let's see, we've got about 12 minutes left. Let's see if I can do kind of a lightning round thing here with questions. SN12 says, when is PC going to give us mineral SPF 50, preferably water resistant, please? The one and most important product I constantly have to look at other brands for. Haven't found any holy grails. I love mineral sunscreens for the body. I have not found a holy grail either. I mentioned the MD Solar Sciences line. I think that even that one, I like that brand for the face. For the body, it's okay, but they when you're putting it over a large area, they can feel thick and heavy. We are not currently working on a mineral SPF for the body. However, that, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that type of product is always up for discussion. So the more we hear from you guys in any format, doesn't just have to be on these live chats, the more we hear from you that you want that type of product, keep those comments coming, because we do listen. That is, we do keep track of that type of stuff. We want to give you guys what you're after. SN2, niacinamide for dark circles, FTW, and vitamin C sunscreen. I feel like such a dunce because I'm not sure what FTW stands for. For the win. Is it for the win? Okay, maybe that's it. Ann McPherson, what about sheet masks? For example, Trish McAvoy and her triangle for the under eye is fab, but uber pricey. Those little eye triangle type things, especially the ones that are more squishy and gelatinous, I think that there's several of them out there, including, I think there's one from Shiseido, that are kind of cool, and they can be refreshing and kind of a fun way to target this age and line-prone area. You always want to make sure that they're not formulated with fragrance, denatured alcohol, any other irritating, problematic ingredients. Generally speaking, though, Anne, sheet masks, the kind that go over your entire face and you pull them out and they're all drippy, I don't get it. I don't get it. I think that if you are using a gentle one, if you want to take the time and deal with the mess, they're not essential. Estee Lauder has a power foil type mask that I think is part of their advanced night repair line. That was kind of cool because it's just a little different and it has a nice mix of ingredients that you don't see in those types of sheet masks all that often. But even then, if you're already using a good nighttime serum or a booster type product, the sheet mask isn't going to give you that much more. If it's dryness that you're looking to use a sheet mask for or dehydration, I'd almost rather you use a creamy moisturizing mask that you leave on overnight as opposed to a sheet mask, which for mess and appearance purposes would just be uncomfortable and awkward to wear overnight. Felicia says, what do you think of exfoliating mitts, such as the ones in Turkey and China that make your skin peel off? If they are doing that, they are way too harsh. Those dry body rubs, you'll see sometimes, like if you're watching, like the Discovery Channel or the Travel Channel, and they're showing these exotic destinations where people are going to these spas where they basically run roughshod over you. And, it's massage and scrub and pamper and heat and cold and ice and more massage. And you basically end up feeling like a, wet noodle when you're done because you're just so blissed out. That can be hell on your skin. Those are super, super rough. If you are rubbing something over your skin that is literally causing it to peel off, and you're not, for example, trying to get rid of dead peeling skin as a result of a sunburn, in which case you should be exceptionally gentle, that's damaging your skin. You are literally chipping away at your skin's protective elements. That is not good. Not good skincare. I mean, if it's part of an occasional, really, really, really rare spa treatment, and then they're like totally rubbing you down with nourishing oils afterwards and doing a seaweed wrap to basically help restore all that stuff they just took out. But, otherwise, ouch. Leonie says, is there any legitimacy to things like the Neutrogena Light Therapy Acne Mask? Not that I've seen. Reason? The type of light therapy devices that they sell for use at home on acne, unless there are a few exceptions in terms of brands that are doing handheld devices in the $300 to $600 range. Baby Quasar, Tanda would be a couple of brands to look at. That the light output of those devices comes pretty close, if not matches, what a dermatologist has in terms of LED treatments, light emitting diode. There is research that certain wavelengths of that type of light can, in fact, have a benefit on improving acne. I'm very skeptical, though, of any of the handheld devices, regardless of the brand, sold at the drugstore for under $50. They're just not going to be powerful enough. And there's part of the reason for that is liability. The threat of lawsuits from people misusing products like that is real, and brands don't want to take that chance, but at the same time, they don't want to miss out on this marketing opportunity. At least that's my theory. So take that for what it's worth. I wouldn't put my money on that type of product. I would rather see you save up your money and get one of the pricier. It's one of the few times I'm going to recommend saving up for a pricier product, handheld device, or talk to a good cosmetic dermatologist, get 2 or 3 LED treatments for your acne from a dermatologist, and see how your skin responds. Because if your skin, some people don't respond to that at all, and then you don't want to buy a device and use it for 2-3 months to see how your skin does, and then realize you're past the window of time that you had to return it. Of course, you can't return a procedure after it's done either. What do I think about rice water? It's fine, not all that exciting. I mean, rice will give you your carbohydrates, some simple sugars. It will give you trace minerals, some vitamins. But if you're talking about like using a rice water toner in place of a well-formulated toner from a brand like Paula's Choice or other brands whose toners we recommend on Beautypedia, there's no comparison. It's sort of like saying, what do you think of Miller Lite compared to a 1983 Bordeaux blend? uh, that sells for $300 a bottle. It's just there's just no, unless you absolutely hate wine, there'd be no competition. Okay. MVeg Potato, who I know I've talked to before. What do you think of young people under 20 using exfoliants since their skin exfoliates rapidly naturally? That isn't always true. How naturally your skin exfoliates and how rapidly that happens, it is true that that type of exfoliation does occur naturally more often when we're younger. However, if you are someone that has had, you reach the age of 20 and you've had a lifetime so far of sun exposure, you live in a sunny climate, you're tan almost all year round, maybe you even go to tanning beds, chances are you've done enough damage to your skin by the time you reach age 20 that you have seriously hindered your skin's ability to shed cells the way it once did, the surface cells. Whereas somebody who was lived in a different climate, was more sun avoidant, or often wore sun protection, their skin is probably going to keep exfoliating naturally until they're well into their 30s. So it varies. Then there's also underlying issues going on in the pore and even deeper in skin that can at various ages affect how skin exfoliates. So what I would say for somebody in their 20s is to try using an exfoliant, AHA or BHA. BHA is the one to pick if you're also dealing with some clogged pores and breakouts, bumps. AHA can work for those as well, just not as well in most cases because it isn't oil soluble. Try it a few times a week using, again, a well-formulated one, not an AHA or BHA scrub, because those exfoliating ingredients in that case, which should be left on the skin, just get rinsed down the drain. But try it and see what you think. See how your skin responds. If after 3 or 4 weeks you're not noticing much of a difference, if you're like, my skin just still looks good, doesn't look any worse, but doesn't look any better, then all right, stop using the exfoliant for now. You can go back to it later, when your skin has started slowing down. John says, none of the Paula's Choice mineral sunscreens work quite well for me. I use the golden rule of a 1/4 teaspoon with any sunscreen and have no mineral sunscreen. No mineral sunscreen has worked. John, I'm not quite sure what you mean by no mineral sunscreen has worked, meaning like, do you not like how they feel? Do you notice that you're getting color when you're out in the sun, meaning that they're not providing sun protection? You also asked what I think of the PA rating system. I think it's an interesting rating system that can give you a better idea of how much UVA protection you're getting, but it's skewed. It's a rating system that was developed in Japan. It ends up making things, I think, a bit more confusing than they need to be. It's sort of like looking at two vegetables that are both nutritional powerhouses and basically making distinctions because, well, broccoli is a better source of antioxidants called sulforaphanes, but spinach is a better source of vitamin K. So what should I eat? I mean, it's kind of what is it called? Splitting hairs. I'm not saying that the PA system doesn't have merit, but I think that there are a lot of sunscreens that would qualify for the PA rating, the PA plus, that just don't bother going through with that because it's an extra expensive test to have to do, and it really only applies in Japan for the most part. Outside of that country, not a whole lot of people either know about it or want to know about it, or even it doesn't even matter that much to them. What's key is broad spectrum protection. You're seeing that on the label, and SPF 30 or greater. So I kind of advise people to don't get hung up on the PA rating. If the sunscreen you like has that, okay. But you don't have to stop using one that doesn't if you like it and it meets those other criteria. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the 1/4 teaspoon for sunscreen, that isn't a golden rule. There is no set ratio for how much sunscreen you need. And I know that can be confusing and frustrating. The key is a liberal application. I've got a big face. I know people, a couple of my coworkers, that because of their smaller frames, they have a much tinier face than I do. They have less surface to cover. So for my big face, a quarter teaspoon probably wouldn't be enough. But for someone who has a smaller face or just a smaller head, a quarter teaspoon would be plenty. That would be considered liberal for them, but not for me. I might need to use half a teaspoon for my face and neck. So watch out for that. There is no such thing as a golden rule for how much sunscreen you'll need to apply, which is why the default tends to be liberal application. Apply enough that you can see it and then let it sink in. Okay, one more question. Who haven't we talked to? Mandera says, Bryan, what is the difference between urea and BHA AHA? It's nice to see you again. Hello. Okay, urea is a keratolytic, fancy word for exfoliant, when it is used in amounts between 10 and 20%. You kind of need to use a lot of it to get that action. In amounts of about 5% or less, urea is actually a very good moisture-binding, hydrating ingredient. It has a natural affinity for skin. It can leave skin feeling very soft and smooth. It helps hold moisture in skin's uppermost layers, and it does so in a way that AHA and BHA ingredients don't. Both AHA and BHA are hydrating, but urea is hydrating via a different mode of action. The other issue with urea, particularly if it is used in a high enough amount to exfoliate skin, is that it is not nearly as cosmetically elegant feeling as AHAs or BHA. So you'll sometimes find some old school creams for dry skin in drugstores that contain 20% urea. NutriPlus is a brand that comes to mind. I've seen some others over the years. And they can really be effective for that really kind of scaly dry skin that some people get, because you're getting that deep moisture and that exfoliating action, but they don't feel good. You put that much urea on your arms or your legs or even your face, and it just kind of feels tacky and sticky. AHAs and BHAs don't have that aesthetic issue, and can be formulated in a much broader way with other ingredients than urea can. So that's the chief difference. So, all right, guys, I'm almost out of voice. I am going to sign off. It has been wonderful talking with you again. As far as I know, I will be back here next week. Same bat time, same YouTube channel. So thank you so much for watching and for all of your questions. You guys are a never-ending font of just knowledge seekers. It's so exciting. I love talking to you. So thank you again for watching. Go to Paula's Choice, 20% off, $65 or more. Hello. I know where I'm headed next. Talk to you later.